Although the first building on the campus, now known as the Old Main, had been under process of construction for several years, owing to a lack of funds, it was not opened to students until October 1st, 1891. On that day, I came with my mother to find out what the requirements were for registration. We entered the Old Main, at that time the only building on the campus, except the engine or pump house and the barn, which housed the director's fine horses and carriages. We entered the office of the director, which we found to be at the south of the entrance, and from there we were directed to the room across the hall, where we were met by Professor Collingwood, who received us cordially and engaged us in a leisurely chat. Professor Collingwood was at that time experiment station chemist and professor of chemistry. He turned to me and questioned me at some length as to my work in geography, asking a good many general questions. In a short time, he announced that I had passed in geography and directed me to Professor Toomey's office, where a similar examination was conducted in grammar. By this time, I became aware that I was undergoing entrance examinations and entered the room of Professor Stolbrand, where I submitted to a similar quiz in arithmetic. At the close of these agreeable interviews, I was informed that I had passed all examinations satisfactorily and was referred back to the director's office to register. In this office, we found a small pine table and 2 or 3 chairs, the office furniture not yet having arrived. Upon the table, a book lying open with a pen and ink nearby. There was no one in the room, nor was there any mark upon the clean, white pages of the book. So I hesitated, not knowing what was expected of me. Upon consulting my mother, she suggested that I write my name and address in the book, and she remarked, "If this university ever amounts to anything, you might be glad some day of having been the first student to register." The university seemed a long way out of town in these early days, as there were no houses on the mesa between the Old Main building and the Southern Pacific tracks, except one adobe and the Indian school buildings, which were located near the site of the present Christian church. To get to the university, a number of us rode horseback, others came in buggies, and some walked along the wagon roads or cut across the country, following trails through the brush. Somewhat later, a public carriage, called a carryall, brought the students out from town. It must be remembered that student activities were not lacking in these days. We had our college song, the first to be written so far as I know. It was sung to the tune of Ta Ra Ra Boom Da and started off like this: "Oh golly, what a standing I did get. I'll get fired from the varsity yet. All my time has been thrown away. Every minute I did play." And had as its closing stanza, "Should old schoolmates be forgot, where'er they may be, remember the great old times we had at the university." We organized a literary society known as the Philmathathon, which met weekly and gave programs of a general character. Debates were sometimes the order of the day, and at other times miscellaneous numbers such as characterized the good old-time literary society. In 1896, the standards for graduation at the university were raised, and no class was graduated in that year. In the following year, 1897, the year of my graduation, the second class was graduated from the university. It was at this time that the Alumni Association was organized and the first official banquet held.